You ever notice how betrayal doesn't announce itself with fireworks? No, it slides in quiet, like a draft under a locked door. One day you're folding laundry or watering the grass, thinking about dinner, and the next you're staring at evidence that your life has been running on a parallel track you never knew existed. That's what happened to me. One ordinary Saturday, coffee still warm in my hand, I learned the woman I built a life with had decided she was auditioning for another role in someone else's play. And me? I wasn't the co-star. I was the placeholder. But here's the thing, placeholders can move too. And I wasn't about to be written out of my own story without leaving a little surprise in the script. The photo hit me harder than a punch. No warning, no wind-up, just me scrolling on a quiet morning. Alice, my wife of 27 years, was supposedly in Dallas at a sales conference. Instead, she was grinning in a photo with Bryce, the office golden retriever in human form. One arm around her shoulder, two drinks in his hand. Her head tilted toward him like they'd been posing for engagement photos since prom. The caption? My real partner. Hashtag Workisband for life. 2 hearts. 57 likes. A parade of nauseating comments from her friends. Love you too. Finally, just say it already. I didn't yell. Didn't cry. Didn't even call her. I just set my coffee down, opened the drawer, and pulled out the beige folder I'd prepped 3 weeks earlier. Inside, divorce petition, property division sheet, disclosures, everything signed, sealed, ready to deliver. My lawyer called it clean and aggressive. See, I'd already heard her giggling with Bryce on speakerphone late one night, whispering, "If only you weren't married." That was the night I started keeping receipts. So while she was in Dallas playing office prom queen, I walked back outside, turned the sprinkler on, and let the grass drink quietly. When I came back in, I opened Facebook, typed one simple comment under her photo. Congratulations. The divorce papers are on the kitchen table. Posted. Logged out. The sprinkler hissed, the sun rose higher, and my marriage officially ended with the same sound as a leaky hose, she called that night. I knew she would. You can set your watch to a guilty conscience. Her voice was too cheerful, plastic, upbeat, like she'd rehearsed it in the hotel bathroom mirror. Hey babe. She dragged the word out like syrup. I saw your little comment. You're not actually mad, are you? It was a joke. Everyone at the office does that. Work husband, work wife. It's a running thing. Just laughs. I didn't interrupt. I let her ramble, filling the silence with nervous giggles. You'd be amazed how much rope people hand you when they don't realize they're building their own gallows. You seriously took it the wrong way, she went on. It's just Bryce. He's harmless. God, you're being dramatic. Finally, I said 3 words. Check the kitchen. Dead silence. 2 beats. Then she laughed. Oh my God. You're joking. You didn't actually. I didn't reply. She kept laughing, but now it was thin, like a balloon losing air. You're such a dork sometimes. Seriously, this is overreacting. Overreacting? I thought about the night I heard her whisper from the laundry room at 11:37 p.m. You looked so good in that gray shirt today. Imagine if we didn't have to sneak around. Yeah, hilarious. That was the night I called Marcus, my lawyer. Told him I could see the iceberg up ahead. He said, start gathering quietly. Emails, finance records, insurance forms. When it hits, don't engage. Move fast. So that's what I was doing now. Not engaging. Executing. Alice thought silence meant weakness. Thought my calm was surrender. But she forgot something. Silence is just the sound strategy makes before it strikes. When she finally asked, voice cracking, so what happens now? I ended the call with 4 words. Take care of yourself, Alice. Click. I imagined her staring at the beige folder on the table. No yelling. No warning. Just the facts. Just like her caption, Monday morning, 9:14 a.m. I logged into my burner Gmail account, the one I usually used for Amazon returns and Craigslist finds. Today, it had a new purpose. I typed up a short message, attached a screenshot of her little Facebook love note, and hit send. The subject line? Inappropriate conduct. You decide. Recipient? HR at her company. CC, her regional manager. The screenshot showed her draped over Bryce, caption glowing in all its real partner glory. Metadata confirmed it was posted during the Dallas conference, the one the company had paid for. The timing was too perfect. By 10:07 a.m., her boss had opened it. I know because I used to track her. Old trick from my sales days. Never send an important email blind. At 10:45, Alice called. No, hey babe this time. No syrup in her voice. Just venom. You're trying to ruin me. I let a second of silence breathe. Then I said, calm as an executioner, I'm not trying, Alice. She sputtered. Something about retaliation, about lawyers. I let her burn herself out. Then I said, funny word, retaliation. Usually means someone thinks they were attacked first. She fell silent. Meanwhile, I was already 2 moves ahead. That burner account. Not traceable. The screenshot? Clean metadata. The caption? Public post. No case for harassment. No grounds for slander. Just facts. When the silence stretched too long, she finally hissed, you don't know what you've started. Oh, I said, leaning back in my chair. I think I do. And with that, I hung up. By lunchtime, I'd already had lunch plans with a friend in accounting, who just so happened to know how expense reports worked at her company. And if Alice thought Facebook captions were a problem, she had no idea what a business audit could do. There's a saying I picked up in my 20s, back when I worked with people who thought hiding invoices under a coffee mug counted as financial strategy. You can fool a person, you can fool a system, but you can't fool the numbers. Numbers don't lie. People do. And Alice, my wife, soon-to-be ex, had always underestimated how much I understood both. Monday lunch, I sat across from Darren, a guy I'd known since before either of us had mortgages. He worked in compliance for Alice's company. Officially, he couldn't share anything. Off the record, he hated Alice. Something about her throwing him under the bus in a meeting last year when one of her innovative campaigns blew through budget like a forest fire. So when I asked, ever notice anything irregular on her expense reports? He didn't even blink. Darren leaned back, stirred his Diet Coke with the straw, and said, you want the short answer or the fun one? Always the fun one. He smirked. Hotel receipts in Dallas billed under client meetings. Except no clients were in Dallas that week. Meals for 2 signed off under her corporate card, tagged as networking dinners. And, my personal favorite, a set of Uber charges in Bryce's name, reimbursed under her login. I raised an eyebrow. That last one's sloppy. He shrugged. Cheaters usually are. They don't notice what they leave behind until it's too late. I walked out of that lunch with more ammo than I'd expected. Enough to bury her career, if I wanted. But burying her career wasn't the endgame. Not yet. See, revenge has 2 speeds, fast and loud, or slow and surgical. I was going for surgical. You don't just throw a grenade and hope for the best. You carve the battlefield until the other side doesn't even realize they're losing until the ground's already gone beneath them. So I did what I do best, cataloged. At home, I laid everything out like blueprints on the dining table. Beige folder open, receipts spread, screenshots in neat piles. On my laptop, I had a timeline. Dallas conference dates. Facebook post timestamp. Bryce's Uber receipts, all synced with her reimbursement claims. Every time she told me she was stuck in meetings. The pattern was as clean as an architect's draft. That night, she came home from the airport, rolling her suitcase and like nothing was wrong. Hair freshly blown out, lips still lined. She was humming, like she hadn't just watched her whole world tilt sideways. I sat at the kitchen counter with a glass of water, calm as ever. Hey, babe, she said, dropping her suitcase by the stairs. Trip was intense. Glad to be back. I studied her for a beat. Good trip. She paused, maybe hearing something in my tone. Then she smiled. Plastic. Too quick. Productive. I let it hang. I didn't mention Facebook. Didn't mention Darren. Didn't even mention the beige folder sitting in the drawer 10 feet away. Instead, I just nodded. Good. That rattled her more than any argument would have. She wanted me to explode, to give her something to frame as irrational. Instead, I gave her nothing. Silence is scarier than shouting. Over the next week, I played my role. Husband on autopilot. No accusations. No questions. Just presence. Meanwhile, I moved pieces behind the curtain. Transferred my half of the savings into a trust she couldn't touch. Froze the joint credit card she loved maxing out on client dinners. Moved my paycheck deposits into a separate account under my name only. Every chess piece shifted without a sound. She still thought the board was hers. Friday, I got the call from Darren again. His voice had a barely concealed smirk. She's under review. Compliance flagged her expenses after I nudged them. Shouldn't take long before she's in hot water. How deep? I asked. Best case, a written warning. Worst case, termination for fraud. Depends how hard they want to come down. I thanked him, hung up, and leaned back in my chair. This was what precision looked like. Not a blow-up in a restaurant. Not a screaming match. Just a quiet, methodical dismantling. Saturday morning, Alice tried to play domestic goddess. Pancakes, bacon, the whole let's reset act. She even wore that old t-shirt of mine she used to claim was her favorite, like nostalgia could plaster over betrayal. Halfway through breakfast, she tried her opening move. So, about that little Facebook comment, she said, poking her fork into a pancake. I sipped my coffee. What about it? She tilted her head, feigning innocence. You were serious? With the divorce papers thing? You weren't just trying to scare me. I set my cup down. Alice, you posted a picture calling another man your real partner. She waved a hand, forcing a laugh. It was a joke. Good, I said. Then the divorce papers will be funny too. Her fork froze midair. I didn't give her the satisfaction of further explanation. I stood, rinsed my plate, and left the kitchen. The silence I left behind felt heavier than a slammed door. That evening, I got an email. Anonymous, of course, but I knew exactly where it came from. Subject, this isn't fair. Message, you're overreacting. Bryce makes me feel alive. You haven't in years. Please, can we talk before you ruin everything? I read it twice. Smiled once. Then archived it. You can't ruin what's already rotting. By Sunday, word had spread. Mutual friends started calling me with that hushed tone people use when they don't know which side to take. One even said, man, maybe just forgive her? It was just one guy. One guy? Bryce was just the headline. The footnotes would be worse. I already knew. So I just said, don't worry about me. Worry about her. And I hung up. Here's the thing most people don't realize about betrayal. It's not the act. It's the arrogance. The assumption that you won't notice. That you'll accept crumbs because you're too dull, too slow, too weak to fight back. Alice thought she was 2 steps ahead. Truth was, she was already in the rearview mirror, fading smaller by the day. And I hadn't even played my last card yet. Not the financial freeze. Not the HR exposure. Not the beige folder. No, the real move was still waiting. The one she'd never see coming until it was already over. Because revenge isn't about shouting checkmate. It's about letting them realize, in silence, that the game ended 3 moves ago. And that's exactly what was coming next. When people picture revenge, they imagine fire, screaming matches, slammed doors, maybe a fist through drywall. That's not my style. Fire burns hot, then fizzles. I prefer ice. Slow. Inevitable. Permanent. So when the HR review hit Alice on Monday, I didn't gloat. Didn't even bring it up. She came home with her nothing to see here, face plastered on. Lips tight. Voice higher than usual. That's her tell. High voice means she's lying. How was your day? I asked casually, pouring myself a glass of water. Fine. Busy. She shrugged, dropping her purse on the counter. I nodded. Good to hear. And that was it. I didn't push. The silence made her squirm more than any accusation would. Because the truth is, guilty people crave confrontation. It's their chance to flip the script. Deny, deflect, dramatize. But when you refuse to play, they choke on their own secrets. Tuesday morning, I got the text I'd been waiting for. Darren again. She's suspended pending review. Laptop confiscated. Word is they found inconsistencies in her reimbursements. I could almost hear the smirk in his typing. I closed my office door, sat back in my chair, and let out one slow breath. Not joy, not triumph, just confirmation. Like an architect watching the first steel beam fall exactly where the blueprint said it would. At home that night, she tried to play normal again. Chicken casserole, her comfort food dish. The smell hit me before I even stepped inside. She only cooked that when she wanted to soften me up. Hungry? She asked, too brightly. Starving, I said, sitting down. We ate in silence for a few minutes. Then she broke. So, the office is going through some changes. Changes? I tilted my head like I was hearing about a stranger's life. Yeah, they're reviewing some policies. Expense reports. It's ridiculous, honestly. I stabbed a piece of chicken, chewed slowly, then said, policies are there for a reason. Her fork clinked against the plate. She wasn't used to me being this unbothered. She expected yelling, expected me to defend her, maybe even call her boss. But I just kept eating. Calm. Cold. She excused herself early that night, muttering something about a headache. I let her go. Wednesday morning, She was still in bed when I left for work. That never happened. Alice was a creature of routine. Up at 6:30, makeup by 7, out the door by 8. But now, she was wrapped in the sheets like a burrito of failure, scrolling through her phone with dead eyes. Not going in? I asked, pausing by the door. Working from home, she muttered. I nodded. All right, don't work too hard. Her glare could have cut glass. By Thursday, cracks were everywhere. She snapped at me for leaving a coffee cup in the sink, rolled her eyes when I asked about groceries. And Friday night, she finally exploded. You don't even care, do you? She shouted across the living room. I looked up from my book. Care about what? About me. About my job. They're trying to ruin me, and you're just sitting there like nothing's happening. I set the book down, folded my hands, and looked at her calmly. You posted a picture with another man calling him your real partner. Alice, if anyone ruined you, it wasn't me. Her mouth opened, then shut. She sputtered for a moment, then stormed upstairs. I didn't follow. I just picked my book back up. Here's the thing. She thought her job was the end game. She thought losing it would scare me into negotiating, into compromise. But I wasn't after her paycheck. Money was never the goal. What I wanted was deeper. I wanted her foundation to crumble. Her identity. Her comfort. The little empire of admiration she built around herself. Friends who thought she was flawless. Co-workers who called her a rising star. Neighbors who thought we had the perfect marriage. And that's where the next phase came in. Saturday morning, I made my move. While she was at the gym pretending she still had a normal life, I pulled out the beige folder again. Added a few more pages. Copies of her expense reports Darren had accidentally forwarded me. Hotel receipts with Bryce's name, screenshots of her late-night messages. Then I opened my laptop and drafted a single email. To Bryce's wife. Subject, thought you should know. Attached, a neat PDF of evidence, organized by date, with a polite note at the top. I believe transparency is better than silence. Do with this what you will. I hit send. By Sunday evening, Alice was pacing the kitchen like a caged animal. Her phone buzzed constantly, calls ignored, texts unanswered. Finally, she slammed it down on the counter and shouted, "Who told her?" I looked up from the newspaper. Who told who what? She glared. Don't play dumb. Bryce's wife. She knows. She called me screaming. Said she had proof. Screenshots. Receipts. I raised an eyebrow. Sounds like she's got a good lawyer. Alice's face twisted. You did this. I shrugged. You did this. I just turned on the lights. She stood there, trembling, searching for words that wouldn't come. Then she stormed upstairs again, muttering something about how I'd regret this. But here's the truth. I wasn't the one regretting anything. Monday morning, I woke to an empty bed. Her suitcase was gone. Closet half empty. She'd run. To her sister's, maybe, or straight into Bryce's arms. Didn't matter. On the kitchen counter, she'd left a note. Sloppy handwriting, smudged ink. You've ruined my life. Congratulations. Don't contact me. I smiled. Not because it was over, but because it wasn't. That was just the opening act. Because while she thought she was free, while she thought she'd escaped, she hadn't realized one thing yet. I still had the final card in my hand. The one that would make all of this, the job, the affair, the lies, look like child's play. And when I played it, she wouldn't see it coming. Because betrayal isn't punished with fire. It's punished with frostbite, slow, creeping, irreversible. And Alice? She was already numb. When people leave, they always think they're walking toward freedom. Alice packed her suitcase like she was escaping some cruel tyrant, when in reality, she'd just run headlong into a storm she didn't even know was brewing. See, freedom isn't about where you run. It's about what follows you. And Alice had more shadows trailing her than she could ever outrun. The first week after she left, the house was quiet. Peaceful even. No heels clicking across hardwood. No fake laughs bouncing off the walls. No perfume clouding the air. No lies. I cooked myself eggs in the morning, read the paper in silence, and for the first time in years, the house felt like it belonged to me again. But don't mistake me for a man basking in solitude. I wasn't done. Not even close. By Tuesday, the calls started. Mutual friends, her sister, even one of her co-workers. Hey, man, what's going on? Alice is saying you're trying to destroy her. I'd lean back in my chair, voice calm. Destroy her? No, just showing people the truth. If the truth destroys her, maybe it says more about the lie she was living. Silence. Then the inevitable awkward throat clear, the excuse to hang up. I didn't blame them. People don't like mirrors shoved in their faces. Meanwhile, I tightened the noose financially. Step 1. The joint checking account. She'd left without noticing the withdrawals I made before she packed her suitcase. By the time she tried to use the card at her sister's, it declined. Twice. Step 2. The brokerage account. I'd frozen all transfers. Legally clean, fully documented. She couldn't touch a cent without me signing. Step 3. The Range Rover she loved parading around town in, leased under my name. Paperwork was already in motion to repossess it. I didn't take her car because I needed it. I took it because it was hers. And because women like Alice don't crumble when they're broke. They crumble when they can't show off anymore. Then came her reputation. Remember that polite little email I sent to Bryce's wife? Turns out she wasn't content just to scream at Alice over the phone. No, she went full scorched earth. Screenshots blasted into group chats. Receipts printed and slid across desks at PDA meetings. One particularly juicy text thread, Alice calling me a placeholder, and Bryce, the only real man she'd ever known, somehow ended up on Facebook. By Thursday, Alice's name was mud. Her friends stopped liking her posts. The neighbors avoided eye contact at the grocery store. Even her sister called me in a whisper, "What exactly did you send to Bryce's wife?" "All of it," I said simply. Click. She hung up. Now, here's where it got interesting. Alice still thought she had one lifeline left. Bryce. The shiny office fling who made her feel 25 again. But see, men like Bryce don't actually want the prize they're chasing. They just want the thrill of stealing it. Once it's theirs, the shine fades. And I knew it was only a matter of time before Bryce did what Bryce does best, bail. Sure enough, Friday night, I got a text. From Alice. He left. He said it's too messy. Said I'm toxic. I don't deserve this. I almost laughed. Not because it was funny, but because of the sheer predictability. She'd burned her job, her marriage, her reputation, all for a man who couldn't even stick around long enough to see her hit rock bottom. I didn't reply. Silence, as always, was the better teacher. That weekend, I started running into people around town. At the bank, at the hardware store, at the little cafe where Alice used to gossip with her friends. And every single one of them gave me the same look. That poor guy, he didn't deserve it look. The one that carries equal parts pity and admiration. I leaned into it. I didn't argue, didn't vent. I just said, we all make our choices, and left it at that. Nothing wins a crowd like quiet dignity. By the second week, Alice's world was collapsing. I knew because she couldn't resist texting me, little bursts of desperation in between her silence. You're not even fighting for us. Do you really want to throw away 27 years? I made a mistake, okay? People make mistakes. Can't we just start over? Each message came later at night. Each one a little shorter, a little more raw. The mask was slipping. But I didn't reply. Not yet. Because here's the cruelest part of revenge. Not the strike itself, but the wait before it lands. Watching them squirm in the silence. Begging for a response you'll never give. That's where real power lies. On Wednesday, Darren called again. You're not going to believe this, he said. They fired her. Not even quietly. Full termination. Cause, fraudulent reimbursements. She's blacklisted in the industry. Word travels fast, man. No one's touching her now. I thanked him, hung up, and poured myself a drink. Not to celebrate, just to mark the occasion. Because that was it. The career she'd clung to, the identity she'd polished for years, gone with one HR signature. And she still hadn't realized the worst part. I hadn't even used everything in the beige folder yet. Thursday night, she showed up at the house. Not a call, not a text. She just walked right in like she still belonged there. Hair messy, eyes red, suitcase dragging behind her like a dead weight. We need to talk, she said, voice cracking. I set down my glass, looked at her calmly, and said, we don't. She blinked. Aaron, please. I've lost everything. My job, my friends, even Bryce left. You can't just throw me away too. I stood, walked to the kitchen, and opened the drawer. The beige folder sat there, thicker than ever. I pulled it out, placed it on the counter between us. She looked at it like it was a bomb. What's that? She whispered. Evidence, I said simply. Every lie, every receipt, every message you thought you'd hidden. Her hands trembled. What are you going to do with it? I smiled, slow and cold. Haven't decided yet. That night, she slept in the guest room. Or tried to. I heard her pacing, heard her muttering to herself, heard the creak of the bed as she shifted restlessly. Me? I slept fine, better than I had in years. Because I knew what she didn't. The beige folder wasn't just insurance. It was the final card, the unexpected ending, the one she'd never see coming until it was too late. And when I played it, she wouldn't just lose the life she built. She'd lose the story she told herself about who she was. Because betrayal isn't punished with rage. It's punished with erasure. And Alice? She was about to vanish. Alice stayed in the guest room like a squatter who didn't want to admit the house no longer belonged to her. She tried small talk over breakfast, left her mug in the sink like old times, even asked about my day once. I answered politely, but flat. No anger. No warmth. Just nothing. The beige folder sat on the kitchen counter every day like a loaded gun. I left it there on purpose, watching her glance at it, flinch at it, circle around it like a nervous animal. That was its own quiet justice. But while she twitched, I prepared the real play. Inside the folder wasn't just receipts and screenshots. No, I'd gone further. With Darren's help, I had copies of internal memos that showed Alice signed off on fraudulent reimbursements herself, not just Bryce's. I had emails where she pitched networking trips that were really weekends away. I had financial records showing she moved money from our joint account into a separate one under her name, an account she thought I didn't know about. And then there was the cherry on top, a handwritten note, dated 2 years back, where she begged Bryce to be patient until I can get him to leave me. Him. Me. That one I kept in a plastic sleeve, so it wouldn't smudge when I showed it to people. The first reveal was small. Surgical. I mailed an anonymous envelope to her parents' house, copies of her hotel receipts, and that note to Bryce. I knew her father. Old school, church every Sunday, still wore a tie even to mow the lawn. Integrity was his religion. A week later, Alice came storming into the house, face pale, hands trembling. "You went too far," she shouted. "My parents won't even answer my calls. Do you know what you've done?" I set my book down, told the truth. Her voice cracked. "They think I'm a whore. They said they're ashamed of me." I nodded. "Sounds accurate." She broke then, sobbing at the counter, mascara streaking. I didn't comfort her, just sat there, calm as stone, while she drowned in the consequences of her own choices. Phase 2. Her reputation in town. I didn't need gossip. I had evidence. I printed neat, anonymous packets. Screenshots of her texts to Bryce. Her real partner, Facebook post. The expense reports Darren had flagged. Each packet went into a plain manila envelope labeled "for your awareness." Then I dropped them in a few strategic mailboxes. Her boss's church group, her book club, the local realtor she always bragged to about promotions. By the following weekend, Alice couldn't walk into the grocery store without whispers chasing her down the aisles. People she used to wave to turn their backs. A neighbor crossed the street to avoid her. She came home one night and shouted, "You're killing me." I looked at her, steady, and said, "No, Alice. You killed yourself. I just turned on the lights." The end game came quietly, just like betrayal had. I sat Alice down at the kitchen table one Sunday evening. The beige folder between us, thicker than ever. "You've taken my job, my parents, my friends," she whispered, voice hoarse. "What else do you want?" I leaned forward. "Your story." She frowned. "What? Your story? The one where you're the victim. The one where I was the boring husband and Bryce was your salvation. That story dies tonight." I slid a stack of papers toward her. Divorce settlement terms. Brutal, airtight, designed by Marcus to strip her of every safety net. She got no house, no car, no savings. Just her suitcase and the debts she'd hidden. Her hands shook. "You can't do this. I'll fight you in court." I smiled. "Go ahead. Because if you do, this folder goes public. Every page, every message, every lie. You won't just lose in court. You'll lose the last shred of dignity you're clinging to." Her eyes darted to the folder, then back to me. She knew I wasn't bluffing. I never bluffed. Finally, she signed. The twist? I didn't destroy her completely. That would have been too easy. I left her just enough to survive. Enough to rent a dingy apartment. Enough to scrape by. Enough to wake up every morning and know she'd been erased from the life she thought she controlled, but not enough to rebuild it. See, real revenge isn't watching someone burn. It's watching them live in the ashes every single day, remembering who lit the match. So now, the house is mine. The accounts are mine. The piece is mine. And Alice? She's just a ghost with my last name on a divorce decree. And the best part? She never saw it coming. Not the silence. Not the ice. Not the fact that the man she called a placeholder would be the one writing the final chapter. Because in the end, I wasn't her placeholder. I was her full stop.